In 1940, with World War II consuming Europe, Germany conceived an astonishing strategy to weaken Britain. Instead of relying only on soldiers and weapons, they planned to use forged currency as a weapon. Prisoners in concentration camps were ordered to produce counterfeit British pound notes, so convincing that they were nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. The intention was to flood Britain with the fake money and destroy its economy and banking system from within. Still, the operation was far more complicated than it first appeared, and Beckett was assigned to oversee it. At the same time, the story shifts to a weapons factory, where workers are in the middle of celebrating a little girl's birthday. Their brief happiness is shattered when a German bomb suddenly falls, wiping out the joy of the moment in an instant. The narrative then introduces Tommy, the central figure. Once feared by everyone who heard his name, he now lives in isolation in a lonely place far from the city. One of his friends tells him that the city was bombed the night before, and that survivors are hiding near their area. The real concern, however, is not only the attack itself. One of the women among the survivors recognized Tommy and asked Johnny about him. Johnny explained that Tommy was simply writing a book and hiding himself away from the world. After sending Johnny off, Tommy notices a little girl outside his window. When he steps outside, he finds a red scarf lying there and immediately recognizes it as his daughter's. He places the scarf on his brother's grave, but sadness remains in his expression. While he stands there, Johnny returns and tells him that his sister has come to see him. Tommy does not invite her inside. Instead, he sits in her car to speak with her. Ada has now become a member of parliament, dedicating her life to helping others. While Tommy had long been known for the opposite kind of life, she asks him whether he even knows what his son has been doing lately. Duke, she says, is now running the Peaky Blinders in Birmingham, the very gang Tommy created, and doing so recklessly. He is making dangerous choices, and his life is hanging in the balance. If Tommy wants to save him, Ada insists, he must return and confront his son, before he is either executed by the law or murdered by his enemies. After a long pause, Tommy refuses. He says he has nothing left to live for, and it is obvious how deeply broken he has become. The story then returns to the same factory where weapons are produced. A Peaky Blinders van arrives, and Duke, Tommy's son, steps out as the gang's leader. The workers stop what they are doing as Duke's men begin loading government supplies into their vehicles. One brave man protests, saying the materials belong to the government and are needed for the war effort, but Duke's companion threatens everyone, warning that anyone who interferes will not only be harmed themselves, but will bring danger upon their families as well. When the worker still tries to resist, Duke shoots him. The gang continues taking the supplies without opposition. By the time Ada reaches the factory, the raid is over. The workers are furious with her and accuse her of standing by while her Peaky Blinders terrorize them. She tries to explain that even though she is related to them, she never supported the gang. But no one is willing to hear her out. The scene then shifts to the Peaky Blinders hideout, where John meets Duke. He places a counterfeit note on the table and offers Duke a deal. He has another £350 million in fake money, and all Duke has to do is spread it across Britain through criminal channels. In exchange, Duke will receive 20% to £70 million. John remarks that he originally intended to make the offer to Tommy, but Duke is the one in charge now, offended and eager to prove himself. Duke points a gun at John and declares that he is now the boss and will make the decisions. Irritated that he was not treated with proper respect, Duke accepts the deal without thinking it through. Back at Tommy's house, something strange is happening. The doors and windows, which he always keeps shut, are suddenly open. Inside, he finds a woman reading his books. He is stunned by her appearance because she reminds him of someone from his past. She tells him that he sees his wife in her because she was his wife's twin sister. Then, in a startling revelation, she claims that she can communicate with her dead sister's spirit and that the spirit sent her to Tommy. As Tommy thinks of his late wife, the story flashes back to 1914, when the two first met in a refugee camp and later had their son, Duke. In the present, the woman finishes recounting details that only Tommy and his wife could possibly have known. Because of that, Tommy is forced to believe her. She tells him that she came for one reason: his son is in grave danger and has become entangled with terrible people. She pleads with Tommy to save him. Tommy answers that his fighting days are over. But the woman tells him that if he rescues his son, then she and his wife will finally grant him the peace he has been searching for. Speaking as if channeling Tommy's wife, she tells him that Arthur was not alone on the night he died. This refers to the night Tommy's brother Arthur was killed. Tommy takes a deep breath and admits that he was there. He explains that Arthur had come to him drunk and angry, armed with a gun, demanding money and wanting his car. In his drunken state, Arthur thought Tommy was the devil. And Tommy claims that what followed was an accident. The story then returns to Duke and Ada. Ada confronts him and warns him to stop robbing the poor and stealing government supplies, because if he continues, the country's ability to fight the war will suffer badly. She threatens to have him arrested if he does not stop. Duke laughs at her. He says no one can stop him, not Ada, not the government, and not the police, because they all work for him. According to Duke, the only person who might have been able to stop him is Tommy, but Tommy has lost his mind and no longer cares about the family business. Duke boasts that he is about to do something even bigger than Tommy or Arthur ever imagined. Ada leaves and goes to Charlie, an old member of the gang. She decides to build a legal case against her own nephew. She tells Charlie that she is taking evidence to a military court to prove Duke stole government weapons, but she needs witnesses who are willing to testify. Charlie glances at her list and dismisses it, saying it is useless. In his view, the military is not what can stop Duke, only his father can. Determined, Ada visits people whose homes were destroyed by German bombing. She tells the refugees that many of them must have seen Duke robbing the Birmingham factory and asks them to testify against him. Yet no one is willing to help her. The following morning, Tommy wakes up to find the mysterious woman gone. Even so, her words have clearly changed him. He decides that he must stop his son. He finds his daughter's red scarf in his bedroom and realizes the woman must have placed it there. Taking it with him, he prepares to leave. Johnny warns him that going back to the city is too dangerous because enemies are everywhere. But Tommy is no longer concerned about his own safety. Meanwhile, Duke is visited again by John, the man who wants the counterfeit money distributed. John tells him that Ada is planning to send him to prison and warns that if that happens, his mission will fail and Duke will lose the £70 million promised to him. Faced with that threat, Duke decides to kill Ada. Ada is on her way to testify in court when Duke follows her. Hiding in a phone booth, he raises his gun and takes aim, but he misses. It soon becomes clear that he missed deliberately. He could not bring himself to kill his aunt. But as he lowers the gun, another shot rings out, and Ada collapses. The fatal bullet came not from Duke, but from John, the counterfeiter. Duke is horrified to see her dead. At the same time, Tommy is driving into the city in search of his son when he sees Ada standing in the middle of the road. He realizes it is her spirit. Tommy possesses a strange gift that allows him to see the dead, and the sight of Ada's spirit tells him that she has been murdered. Devastated and enraged, he heads out to find Duke. Tommy arrives at a local pub where Duke's gang usually gathers. When he does not see Duke there, he demands to know where his son is. The crowd ignores him. So Tommy turns off the music and shouts Duke's name. Many people begin to tremble, because they know exactly who Tommy is and what he is capable of. But one reckless young thug, not understanding Tommy's reputation, steps forward, trying to impress everyone. He tells Tommy to turn the music back on and says that because he ruined their fun, he will have to dance for them. At that moment, everyone who truly knows Tommy backs away. The young man points a gun at him, but Tommy calmly pulls a grenade from his pocket, removes the pin, and slips it into the thug's pocket. Panic-stricken, the man runs outside, unable to pull it free in time. Seconds later, the grenade explodes and kills him. After that brutal warning, Tommy finally finds Duke. The moment Tommy sees his son, he starts beating him, convinced Duke has crossed every possible line and killed Ada. Duke desperately insists that he did not kill her, saying he could not bring himself to shoot her and that someone else did it. Tommy strikes him again, furious that Duke became involved with such people. Duke shouts back that Tommy himself made him this way, that this criminal life is the family business Tommy handed down to him. Grabbing him, Tommy demands the truth. Duke finally confesses that Ada's killer was John, the man behind the counterfeit money scheme. Duke then explains the full plan to flood Britain with fake currency and collapse the nation from within. Tommy leaves for the hospital. Knowing Ada's body has been taken there and wanting to see her one last time, Johnny comes with him. But Tommy takes back the gun Johnny is carrying. He knows Johnny is emotional enough to kill Duke out of revenge. When Johnny asks why Tommy needs the gun inside a hospital, Tommy explains that the man who murdered Ada will expect him to come there and will likely be waiting to ambush him. Tommy intends to kill him when he appears. Inside, Tommy looks at Ada's body and struggles to contain his grief. Standing beside her, he confesses the darkest truth he has hidden for years. He killed his own brother, Arthur. He remembers that Arthur came to him drunk, violent, and completely out of control. They fought over power and authority, and in the struggle, Tommy ended up killing Arthur to save himself. As he relives the memory, he is overwhelmed by guilt. Suddenly, Tommy hears footsteps in the hallway and realizes John has come to finish him off. Tommy steps out with his gun, and a fierce shootout erupts through the corridors of the hospital. Both men dive for cover and fire from behind the walls. During the gunfight, John shouts that Tommy does not need to fight him. He says they could both become rich, live like kings, and make a deal instead. But Tommy has no interest in money. To him, John is only the man who murdered his sister. When Tommy steps out and fires, John realizes he cannot match him and escapes through the horse stables. Furious but focused, Tommy regathers himself, mounts a horse, and rides through the streets. People stare in amazement. It has been years since Tommy rode through the city like the king he once was. He eventually reaches Duke's hideout. A flashback reveals a conversation Ada had with Duke before her death. She told him she was bringing Tommy back, and that Tommy would help him if Duke agreed to help Tommy in return. Duke wanted to become the next boss, while Tommy wanted only peace. Ada then handed Duke a special bullet and told him that when the time came, he should give Tommy the peace he deserved and then lead in his place. Back in the present, Tommy stands before Duke. Duke tells him that Ada wanted them to work together. He promises to help stop John and avenge Ada's death. But only if Tommy allows him to do things his own way. Later, Tommy and Duke sit together and share a drink. After that, Tommy attends Ada's funeral. At the same time, Duke contacts John and lies to him. He says Tommy's men have discovered his location and are on their way to kill him. Duke offers protection, but only if John pays him immediately the £70 million he promised, desperate to stay alive. John agrees. Elsewhere, Tommy and his old allies prepare their attack. One man suggests charging indirectly, but Johnny proposes a smarter approach. Some men will approach by boat as a distraction, while he and Tommy will use the old tunnels to slip inside unnoticed. The plan is set into motion. Duke meets John and tells him that Tommy's men will attack by river using 3 small boats. He advises John to station his men at the docks and ambush them there. Soon, 3 boats appear through the fog, and John's men get ready to fire. But Tommy and his core group are not on those boats at all. Instead, they quietly force open an underground tunnel entrance and enter John's warehouse from below. Back at the river, as the boats draw near, most of the men piloting them silently slip into the water. Only one of Tommy's loyal men remains aboard the lead boat. Knowing full well that John's men are waiting to gun him down, he stays just long enough to steer the boat toward the docks. He lights the fuse on a massive bomb, leaves it on board, and dives into the water at the last possible second. When the boat crashes into the docks, a huge explosion tears through the area, wiping out all the guards John had positioned there. Seeing his men destroyed, John realizes Duke has betrayed him. Duke had secretly remained loyal to his father and lured John into a deadly trap. Enraged, John points his gun at Duke, but before he can fire, another explosion blasts open the warehouse doors and throws him to the ground. Through the smoke, Tommy appears with his crew, having successfully entered through the tunnels. A savage gun battle begins between Tommy's gang and John's remaining guards. Tommy's men fight with ferocity, and because they attack by surprise, they quickly overwhelm and eliminate John's forces. During the chaos, Tommy is badly wounded. Duke rushes to him and remarks that he took too long to arrive. Then Duke grabs explosives and sets fire to the mountains of fake British pounds. The counterfeit money meant to cripple Britain goes up in flames. Watching his grand plan collapse, John knows he has lost. Panicked, he jumps into his car and tries to escape. But as he attempts to drive off, he sees Tommy standing in front of him, gun in hand, like death itself. Tommy could have killed him immediately, but instead he hesitates, almost as if he wants John to kill him, because he no longer wishes to carry his pain. John fires twice, striking Tommy. Even through the agony, Tommy returns fire and shoots John in the heart, killing him instantly. Bleeding heavily, Tommy stands in front of the moving car, seemingly ready to let it run him over. At the last moment, Duke drags him out of the way. Tommy is dying, and Duke desperately tries to save him, but Tommy refuses. Looking at his son, he asks Duke to use the special bullet Ada gave him so that he can finally find peace. Duke breaks down, unwilling to kill his father. But he understands that this is what Tommy truly wants, with immense sorrow. He loads the bullet and grants Tommy his final wish. As Tommy draws his last breath, he smiles. In those final moments, he remembers the people he loved most: his wife, his daughter, and his sister. He dies peacefully, spiritually reunited with his family. Afterward, Duke orders his men to make sure every last counterfeit note is destroyed. He then lights the funeral pyre for his father. And with Tommy's death, the story comes to an end.